In the summer of 2025, the American auto industry faces a crisis. The Motor City, long a symbol of American manufacturing might, is now at the epicenter of a storm threatening to reshape the industry's future. Aggressive tariffs from the Trump administration threaten to upend decades of manufacturing and supply chain stability. The new policies are sending shockwaves through Detroit's factories, where every bolt and circuit depends on a finely tuned global network. Ford Motor Company, led by CEO Jim Farley, warns that a 25% tariff on vehicles and parts from Mexico and Canada could devastate the U.S. auto sector. Farley's message is clear. These tariffs threaten not just profits, but the very jobs and communities that rely on the auto industry's success. President Trump urges automakers to bring production home, but the reality is far more complicated. Decades of investment and cross-border collaboration can't be unwound overnight, and the cost of doing so could be staggering. Modern cars are global products, assembled from parts sourced worldwide. From microchips in Asia to transmissions in Mexico, every vehicle is a testament to international cooperation. Ford's public statements highlight the chaos and rising costs these tariffs are causing. Suppliers are scrambling, and uncertainty is rippling through every level of the supply chain. The industry is caught between protectionist policies and the realities of global trade. Executives, workers, and policymakers are locked in heated debate over the best path forward. While tariffs aim to protect American jobs, automakers argue they could backfire, raising prices, reducing competitiveness, and risking layoffs. The threat of plant closures and shrinking paychecks looms large. The conflict pits two visions, one of economic isolation, the other of global integration. The choices made now will echo for years, shaping the future of American manufacturing. Ford's response is being watched closely, potentially setting the tone for how multinationals handle rising economic nationalism. The world is watching Detroit, waiting to see if it can weather this storm. The stakes are high for workers, suppliers, and consumers across the country. In the battle between tariffs and trade, the future of the Motor City and the livelihoods of millions hangs in the balance. The new trade policy is a series of escalating blows to the auto industry, shaking the very foundation of how cars are built and sold in America. It began in March 2025 with a sweeping 25% tariff on imported steel and aluminum, sending domestic prices soaring and forcing manufacturers to scramble for affordable materials. Just a month later, in April, a 25% tariff hit all imported vehicles, impacting not only foreign brands but also American automakers who build cars overseas and ship them back home. The most disruptive move came soon after, a 25% tariff slapped on every imported auto part, threatening to unravel the intricate North American supply chain that automakers have relied on for decades. The administration's message is simple and direct. Bring jobs home by moving all production to the U.S., promising a revival of American manufacturing might. But for automakers, the reality is far more complicated. A tangled web of rising costs, supply chain disruptions, and logistical nightmares that threaten to stall production lines. Tariffs on raw materials and essential parts drive up production costs at every stage, squeezing profit margins and forcing companies to make tough decisions about where and how to build. Meanwhile, duties on finished vehicles limit consumer choice, leaving buyers with fewer options and higher prices at the dealership. The industry is forced to recalculate business models overnight as executives and analysts work around the clock to adapt to the new reality. The narrative of corporate patriotism now clashes with the complex economics of global manufacturing, where parts and expertise cross borders every day. Automakers face mounting financial pressure, with no easy solutions in sight, as losses pile up and uncertainty grows. The result, an industry under siege, struggling to adapt to a rapidly changing landscape where every decision carries new risks and the future remains uncertain. Ford fights back with a bold PR campaign, always moving forward, never leaving America behind. The message is everywhere, in newspapers, on billboards, and across television screens. Ford's leadership knows that in times of uncertainty, connecting with the American public is more important than ever. They want to remind everyone that Ford is not just a car company, but a symbol of American resilience and progress. The campaign highlights Ford's deep American roots and its status as the top U.S. vehicle builder and employer of union auto workers. Ford's story is woven into the fabric of American industry, and the company is determined to show that it stands shoulder to shoulder with the nation's workforce. Ford positions itself as a champion of American workers, not a faceless multinational. The company's ads feature real employees, their stories, and their pride in building vehicles that drive America forward. Ford wants every customer to see the faces behind the cars and feel a personal connection. The message is clear. Tariffs hurt everyone, not just corporations. Ford's campaign urges Americans to consider the ripple effects: lost jobs, shuttered factories, and communities at risk. The stakes are high, and Ford wants the public to understand what's truly on the line. To keep sales moving, Ford offers employee pricing for all, hoping to offset consumer anxiety over rising prices. The company rolls out special deals and incentives, making it easier for families to afford a new car despite economic uncertainty. Meanwhile, Ford halts shipments of US-made vehicles to China after Beijing retaliates with its own tariffs. The global market shifts overnight, and Ford must quickly adapt to protect its workers and its future. The trade war's impact is immediate. Export markets close, production slows, and revenue drops. Factories that once buzzed with activity now face uncertainty, and the pressure mounts on every level of the company. Ford's actions show the real-world consequences of escalating trade disputes. The company's leadership is forced to make tough decisions, balancing the needs of workers, shareholders, and the communities that depend on them. The company's strategy is clear: rally public support and weather the storm. Ford organizes rallies, brings together employees and supporters, and calls on Americans to stand united in the face of economic headwinds. The battle over tariffs is now a fight for the hearts and wallets of American consumers. Ford's future depends on winning that fight, one customer, one family, and one community at a time. The most direct impact of tariffs: higher prices for American car buyers. New vehicle prices could jump by $3,000 to $12,000 depending on the model. Suppliers like Automotive say they'll pass increased costs to automakers, who in turn pass them to consumers. The result? A direct tax on anyone buying a new car. Consumer confidence drops, with many delaying purchases or turning to used cars. Lower demand means fewer sales, production cuts, and more financial strain on automakers and suppliers. Even American-made vehicles like the Ford F-150 aren't immune. Imported parts and materials drive up costs. Tariffs don't just target imports, they make domestic manufacturing more expensive. The policy meant to help American consumers may end up hurting them most. The price of patriotism is hitting everyone at the dealership. The idea of a 100% American-made car is a myth in today's global economy. The North American auto industry relies on seamless cross-border supply chains thanks to the USMCA. Parts often cross borders multiple times before final assembly. Ford assembles most vehicles in the US, but about half the parts are imported. Even the Tesla Model 3 contains over 12% imported parts. Critical components like semiconductors are sourced almost entirely from Asia. Mexico is vital, exporting $82 billion in auto parts to the US in 2024 alone. Tariffs on Mexican-assembled vehicles could make them unprofitable, shrinking consumer choice. Rebuilding the supply chain in the US would take years and billions in investment. The administration's call to reshore production ignores these realities. The industry's global structure can't be changed overnight. Ford isn't alone. Every automaker is scrambling to adapt. Stellantis projects a $2.7 billion loss, blaming tariffs and restructuring costs. Like Ford, it runs patriotic ads to shore up public support. General Motors takes a quieter approach, lobbying behind the scenes while feeling the same financial pain. Foreign automakers like Toyota and Hyundai emphasize their US investments and promise to shield consumers from price hikes, at least for now. The industry stockpiles parts, rushing shipments before tariffs hit. Cross-border traffic surges as companies race to build inventory. The universal view tariffs are a threat, not an opportunity. The disconnect between government policy and industry reality grows wider. Automakers brace for a long, costly fight. The industry's response is unified: survive first, adapt later. The tariff battle is now a public showdown between the White House and auto industry leaders. President Trump insists automakers can simply move production home, framing it as a test of loyalty. The administration's message is patriotic and simple, but ignores the complexity of global manufacturing. Ford CEO Jim Farley warns of chaos and rising costs, speaking the language of supply chains and competitiveness. The White House campaigns with broad strokes. Automakers counter with economic reality. The two sides talk past each other with little common ground. The administration sees a quick fix. Industry leaders see disruption and long-term damage. The debate is more than policy, it's a clash of worldviews. The future of American manufacturing hangs in the balance. Behind the headlines, workers face the real cost of the trade war. Tariffs create uncertainty for hundreds of thousands in the auto industry. If sales drop, production cuts and layoffs follow, impacting not just automakers, but suppliers and entire communities. Smaller suppliers already on thin margins are especially vulnerable. The collapse of one supplier can halt entire assembly lines, rippling through local economies. Promises to build new U.S. plants offer little comfort. Factories take years to open. Jobs are lost now. The reopening of Stellantis' Belvidere plant won't help workers facing layoffs today. Families struggle to plan for the future amid economic anxiety. The policy meant to protect jobs may end up costing them. For many, the promise of tariffs is proving hollow. The human toll of economic nationalism is just beginning to show. The American auto industry is at a crossroads, pulled between economic reality and political ideology. For consumers, expect higher prices and fewer choices as tariffs bite. For workers, the future is uncertain. Job losses loom if the trade war drags on. New U.S. factories are years away, offering little immediate relief. The market could shift, with foreign competitors and electric vehicles gaining ground. The industry's delicate balance is being upended, with unpredictable consequences. The tariff saga is a lesson in the complexity of global trade. Well-meaning policies can have unintended, far-reaching effects. The fate of car buyers and workers now depends on a high-stakes standoff in Washington. The road ahead is rough, and the journey has only just begun.